Hello everybody! I wanted to make you a small video to show you how to do this background effect that you were planning to use for your project. So I got my video files up here and I just want to walk you through what needs to happen so you can actually set it up the right way. So the first thing is first, you need your artwork and you need your environment. I have my environment here and I've imported it by going to File, Import, and Images. And I just made sure that when I brought it in, I kept it as a Toon Boom bitmap drawing, actual size, alpha straight. What this alpha means is if there's a transparent background, what do you want to do with the background? If there's like pre-multiplied with black, if you have a black background, it'll try to cut it out so all you'll have is the artwork, or white if you're like drawing on a sheet of paper and the background is white, it'll take out the white background and only leave the lines or something that you've drawn. But I just want to bring it in straight. So when I hit straight, you'll get this image, which is here. The only other thing that I really did was just use it as a sketch to work on top of my artwork. And once I drew that sketch, I ended up drawing these three characters that you see over the artwork. And you know, I'd use whatever lines and whatever colors I wanted to use. You've used lines and colors and things with your artwork before. This character is a little bit over this table, but I can in After Effects cut it out, or I can just draw it in such a way where it won't show up. This is kind of like a little extra fix that I'll show. But the most important thing that you want to do is this. Once you're done drawing your artwork, go up to File, Export, Movie. But when you do this, make sure that you have everything else turned off but the layer that you want to export. So your layer should probably show up something like this. And you do this for each layer of animation or artwork that you have. So if you're only just drawing your character and you have your character on a single layer, click on your layer, File, Export, Movie. And when you get ready to export this movie, make sure, let me go here and change this. You want to browse for where you want it to be, where you want to save it. I just want to save this one on the desktop to make sure that this one gets saved properly. So I can just go to desktop and then I can go and say guy, movie. Or whatever you want, and you can hit save and it'll put that name up there. So whatever you want to save it as, just like you've done before. Here's the part that's different. After you select display all and you export the number of frames that you want, make sure you set it as the final resolution for your movie. You're going to need a high quality image for this. Click movie options, and when you click movie options, you'll get a window that pops up. And this window looks like this. You don't need to export sound, but you will need to export video. And under settings, right here, where we say compression type animation, yours might be set to H.264 initially, so you can have like a easily compressed file size. This is cool and all, but for what we're going to do, we're going to need a high quality image. So we're going to hit animation. And after we export the animation section, you're going to go from depth. Your depth is going to be originally set to millions of colors. However, you want to make sure it's exported at millions of colors plus. If you click that, you can set the quality however you want, medium, high, best. You're going to hit OK. And then you're going to hit OK again, prepare for internet streaming, hit OK. And then you're going to hit OK here, and it's going to export that image for you. Now, I've already exported this image, and it actually shows up right here in my exports folder because I like to stay organized. And so I have each of these characters already exported, and you can kind of see the file type on there. So this is only 2.5 megabytes. It's a very small file that's been created. And I'll even open it up in MPEG Stream Clip just so you can kind of see what it looks like. The big thing about this file is that it has no background at all. It just exports out a blank black void that you can bring into After Effects. So once you have that exported, you're going to need a picture of your environment, what I have right here, and you're going to need a picture of your characters or whatever you have as well. I'm going to open up After Effects. You're going to need to go to File, New, and New Project, just like this. Now, whenever you set up your new project, it's going to ask you for a couple things. I'm going to hit Don't save this one. I'll reopen this one in a minute. But for now, you're going to have a blank project that is set up similarly to this. And you're going to need to, when you make this new project, create two things. The first is a composition. This is like in Premiere where you're making a sequence. You're going to create something to put everything in. We're going to call this gumball effect. And then 1920 by 1080 HD TV 1080 24. Yes. Square pixels? Yes. Frame rate 24? Yes. Resolution full? Yes. This is grayed out, so you don't have to worry about this section here. And then you can set however long your animation is. This animation is way longer than this, so I'm just going to 0.5. So that's 5 seconds. And then background color, black, whatever background color you want is fine. I'm going to hit OK. So it's going to make a brand new composition, and this is where we're going to put all of our artwork in. I'm going to import in two things. So I can go to import multiple files, and I can find those files if I have them all set up. So here I'm going to go to desktop. I'm going to go in my folder, and I'm going to go to exports, and I'm going to select these and bring them in. Import them as footage because they're just movie files. We just want to take the movie files and reuse them the way that they are. So I'll bring them in, and it says this has an unlabeled alpha channel. How do we want to bring it in? We'll bring it in straight. That way it'll just take the alpha channel that we currently have, and it'll just put it directly on top of our stuff. We don't have a black background to kick out. That black we saw is invisible because we used millions of colors plus. We're also going to bring in the environment, and then we're done. So I'm going to hit, let's see, do we have it? Yes, hit cancel. So if we double click our composition, it shows up down here, and this is where we can stick in our artwork. So all we need to do is grab our environment, drag it in. If we hit the S key, we can bring up scale. If we hit the P key, we can bring up position. If we hit the R key, we can bring up rotation. That's how we change our image. For this, we just need the S key to scale it up. We can hit Command minus and Command plus to zoom in and out of our environment, just like we would have done in anything else. So here's our artwork that we brought in. And if you need to change the size of your environment, this is how you would do it. Now at the bottom, you see resolution. If you're After Effects can take up a lot of memory on the computer. So if you're using something and you want something to be a little bit faster while you're working on it, set this to preview at quarter resolution and you can bring in things quicker. Now, let's just say you export the environment from Toon Boom as well. If you want the environment to be exactly what you want, you might just want it to be a movie clip as well. You can export the environment as a movie clip, just like this, so it's the exact resolution you want, and then you can export out the characters. Not export the characters, but you can put the characters in your composition just as I'm doing here. I'm just clicking and dragging down to say I want these characters layered in just like this. So I'll put Ghosty on the bottom, Dude in the middle, and then extras.mov at the top. Once you do this, the last thing that you will need to do, and I'll do this on dude.mov, is go up to Effect, and then you have one specific effect that you'll need to get. And once you do that, you're good. Go to Generate, CC Light Sweep. What this does is put that nice little outline on top of your character. Now, you might not necessarily see this initially, so to make sure that you see this properly, you can rotate it in different areas. And you can see, if I zoom this in, that the CC Light Sweep is actually taking effect on the artwork. We need this to show up on the edge of the character. And so what we're going to do to make sure that this works, we're going to first go to Edge Intensity and we'll turn it up. So make sure that it shows up on the edge. We'll also turn up the edge thickness as well. So with that thickness, you can kind of see down here at the bottom that it's actually showing up the way we want. We can take off the sweep completely because we don't need the sweep. We just need the edge of this light so it shows up on our character exactly where we want. What this little direction button does, you can click and hold and drag, and it'll show up in different angles on your character. So wherever you want that highlight to be, it'll point in that direction. After you do that, you can increase the width of it to make it take up more of the character, or make it take up less of the character as you need. So if you want like kind of a highlight on everybody, this would be the easiest way to do it. Increasing edge thickness will make the highlight softer or harder, depending on however you want it. And then that's basically it. If you have your animation in here, you'll only need to do this once. You can, if you have your animation on a single layer. If you have multiple layers, you'll need to do this multiple times. But once you are done, you need to go to Composition, Add to Render Queue, and under Render Settings here, there's 3 links you can click, and those just help you set up your settings for export. Render Settings, Quality Best, Resolution Full. This is what we want to use for animation. We'll make sure that we set the frame rate to 24 frames per second, and we'll hit OK. Output Module. This is basically what we are throwing out of After Effects. Do we want video? Do we want audio? We definitely want video, so that should be checked. Millions of colors is fine for this because we don't have a transparency anymore. We only had a transparency in Toon Boom. So you go to Format Options, Video Codec Animation. This is if you want the super high quality version. If you want one that runs pretty well for like YouTube and stuff, H.264. Be warned though, After Effects can take a minute to render. So if you set it to H.264, be prepared to let it sit there and render and compress your artwork. It will take a little bit of time, but it'll be worth it in the end. I'm going to turn audio output off because we don't have audio in this particular case. The audio might be compiled in Premiere, and this way it'll be a little bit easier to work with. And then output 2, this is just where we want to save it. So maybe on the desktop, gumballeffect.mov, and then we hit render. And as we hit render, it's going to take a second and go through the animation, make sure that everything is exactly where it needs to be. This is about how long it will take for about 5 seconds or so of animation. I know that this character's not moving as much. Even if the character was moving a little bit more, it'll still kind of be within that area. But it's rendering, as you can see here. Boom, there we go. So you can see this file has a pretty heavy file size to it. It's 429.8 megabytes. If we were to click on this object, right click it, and go to Open With, and go to MPEG Stream Clip, what we can do is compress this file size down to a smaller file. There are a couple other methods that you can use to do this, but I think this is the easiest way. We can go to File, and we can click Export to MPEG-4. What this will do is allow us to make a file size that is compressed but still has the same kind of quality to it, as close as we can get to it. But the file size will be a little bit smaller. It'll lose a little bit of quality, but that's expected in some cases. So H.264 is what we're looking for. 1920 by 1080, that's the resolution. We're going to hit 24 frames in the frame rate button, and then we're going to click Make MP4. Make sure your compression up here is set to H.264. We'll hit Make MP4. It's going to bring up a window for us asking us how to do that. We'll go to Desktop, and then Gumball Effect H.264, so you can see the lower quality version of it, and then we'll hit Save. And here we go. So it's going to make a shorter, smaller version of this file for us to use, something that's a little bit more manageable, something that's a little bit easier to work with. Anytime you do like some heavy files and some heavy effects, there are ways of showing it. There are ways of it kind of looking a little, looking just like you want, but sometimes the file size can be a little bit more than you need. In this case, if I go here, this is Gumball Effect, the original one, and this one, 2.1 megabytes for the same file. Super small. This is what you want. Super useful. Okay, that about does it. If you have any other questions or you have anything else you need, feel free to let me know. Have a nice day.